You're listening to In Bad Company. Today's guests are Joel and Brittany Jacobson. They're innkeepers, and they also have a ministry where they work with trafficking victims. This is a heavier episode, and there is a slight trigger warning just with the seriousness of this topic. But there's also a lot of levity and just running it in, and it's a really important episode, and I'm really excited. So here we go, Joel and Brittany. Well, Joel and Brittany Jacobson, how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing great. How are you?
Doing good. We talked about it off pod before, but we're all surviving the winter, so that's nice.
Yes.
Nice and cold.
Barely.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Barely.
They can
Well, we
buy
won't tell your
bread.
guests that. Like your house is, I'm sure, very warm. It's cozy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Inside's great.
Yeah, there you go. Honestly, yeah, it does seem like this would be a perfect time to stay at like a place like yours. It's just like it's cozy, right? And stay out of the snow. And so why don't you guys just kind of in a nutshell talk about like what you do with this whole, you know, the innkeeping and the ministry, just like what does everything look like?
Yeah. You want to take this or you want
No, she's the pro at like the elevator speech. So
There you go.
So we basically a couple years ago we started dreaming about what it would look like to have our own space to host retreats. So we work with survivors of human trafficking and we put on weekend getaways focused on whole body health and wellness for them. And so originally it was like we looked at property to do like a glamp site or other property options. And then a friend of ours from Travers reached out and said, "Hey, the old Bel Air bed and breakfast is for sale. You guys should think about just like reaching out. It's been on the market for a long time." And so with no innkeeping experience whatsoever, we moved in Labor Day weekend of 2023 to a fully booked inn. And it was truly trial by fire. But now we basically were trying to get away from just doing like fundraising efforts for these retreats that we were putting on for survivors. And we wanted a more sustainable business model. And so that's kind of what led us to having our own property in the long run, was just this desire to, have some kind of sustainable business model. So we run it as a B&B from May through October, technically year round, but we really do focus on our retreats during our off season. And it's the stays at our bed and breakfast that help fund the retreats for survivors so that we can keep costs free for any resources that they might need. So
That's cool. So the ministry was first, and then
Mhm.
so you guys are comfortable calling it a B&B? That's not
Yeah.
insulting because
Yeah.
you call yourselves innkeepers, and I didn't know if there's a hierarchy there.
No, yeah, we are a bed and
Yeah.
breakfast through and
Good.
through. We're not an Airbnb. That one's offensive.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
say Airbnb, we will yell at you, you know? Just kidding.
But yeah,
Oh,
B&B and they're kind of
Yeah, it's
synonymous.
interchangeable.
Mhm.
nice. Well, cool. So I guess like how did that start? Well, let's first take a breakdown. So what does your day-to-day look like?
Mhm.
Is it many things?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you running in, you start wearing all the hats.
Mhm.
So like you become, the cleaner, the maintenance guy. You do all the back end. So you do all like, the business paperwork, all that, answering emails, marketing. I feel like you make food, we're bed and breakfast. So, you need to have
50% of the experience.
yeah, you need a bed and then
Mhm.
you also need some breakfast. And so that's part of it too. Yeah, I feel like day to day, it always depends on like our seasons. So we're typically super busy summer and fall for our area because a lot of people come up. Bel Air's like that, like great, like northern Michigan small town getaway spot, and so we're near Torch Lake, so we get a lot of people that want to go hiking or go out in the water, and then they need a place to stay.
Mhm.
And so in the summer, we're pretty busy. And then in the fall, we also have all of our what we call the leaf peepers. They love leaf checking out all the stuff because it's a beautiful area. And so, um, yeah, I think so. In the summer, fall, we're pretty busy. We're booked. We're just cleaning rooms, making breakfast, interacting with guests. And then in the winter, we start doing like maintenance projects and upkeep, because as time goes, things either break or need to be repaired or just kind of
Updated.
updated, usual yearly maintenance for house stuff. And so that's kind of our winter. And then we also take time off in the winter because we don't get a lot of time off in the summer or fall. And so typically either winter or spring, we do, some kind of week off here or there, or take some time for ourselves too.
Oh, that's cool. And so, yeah, I'm sure it's a revolving door. Everything is like whatever needs to be done. You guys are handling it because it's just you two, right? There's no additional staff or anything.
We do
Nice.
have Jane, she works for us, but,
Okay.
she's our marketing coordinator, basically, so
Oh,
she
nice.
has taken the social media
Yeah.
page off of our plate and does a lot of, communications work for us, but as far as, like, the day-to-day, yeah, it's just us, so
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I was gonna say
Mhm.
you guys have a pretty active like social page and stuff with just like things like recipes or just what's going on with the inn. Um, and so to be clear too, so even though it's for a ministry, it's fully public. Anyone can just book a
Yeah.
room, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's cool. And there's no pitch. There's no like, all right, here's how you're gonna get involved in the ministry or slideshows or anything.
There's no timeshare awkwardness,
Yeah.
Come stay with us for free, but sign your life away.
Yeah,
Kind of
Right.
thing.
exactly.
That's cool. So what is your off season? You said you do the retreats in the off season. Just is that
Mhm.
Yep.
winter? Okay.
No, November to April,
Okay.
yeah, we have very few guests here, um, during that time, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
What
feel
do
like our
most Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say our retreats are kind of more on the non-snowy months because it's a little hard to get people, like today it's currently snowing and not a lot of people want to drive and that kind of stuff. So we purposely try to do that when the season's a little bit easier for
Mhm.
travel.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That makes sense. Um, so just kind of more on the innkeeping side, like what do people what did you guys not realize before you took that step? Like what's been the biggest like surprise in shifting to innkeeping?
Hmm. The biggest surprise. All of it's been a surprise. Oh my gosh. That's a great question.
I feel like going in, we thought not that it was going to be easy, but like a little bit more manageable and like less of a um less of a grind. Maybe. I think
Mhm.
that's how I looked at it, because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, just cleaning some rooms, interacting with some guests, like, not a big deal." And then you start doing it and you're like,
Mm.
"Yeah, there's a lot of work here." There's always something, to do, and so it's more of a lifestyle than it is like a job,
Yeah.
where you're constantly doing stuff. Even in our time off, it's like, okay, what do we do to get people here for our next season? Like what are we posting on social media? What are we going through our email campaigns, like that kind of stuff. And so I feel like, that's been a big surprise for me at least, because I came from the ministry world, so I've never run a business before. And so like, running a church is way different than, trying to keep the lights on and, you know, trying to like market to people. And so
Yeah.
that's been a surprise for me, is like how much more of a lifestyle. And then you have to like make moments of rest too for yourself, because if you don't,
Mhm.
you just get burned out.
For sure.
Cuz you could probably just work. I mean, it's any business owner, but you guys could probably just like you could work forever, right? I mean, you could just be like, well, I could just keep working. And I think rentals in general, if people aren't in rentals, it's harder than they think. But then you guys are technically renting and you're hosting and you're living there too. That's got to be a little
Right.
weird too. Like,
Yeah, there's no shut off. So I think because we live underneath of guests too, like we're in the same house. Um, I don't know. I think that that gives a different level to it of like, I can't just walk out in my sweatpants at, you know, 6 p.m. Like, there will be somebody here to judge me harshly. Um,
I mean, you could do
I
it.
could do it, I guess. Nobody's really stopping me,
There's
but
a level of
but
professionalism.
yeah, and it's weird too. There's no cutoff. So like at 5, I'm not done.
Yeah.
Necessarily, or nothing's stopping me from being done. There's always laundry. There's always like something that I'm staring at that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of work. And then to be like constantly confronted by the work that needs to be done also can get a little grindy, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
that's tough. Like you're like, oh, I need to fix that thing or do that, and it's like right there. It's like you're not like, okay,
Yeah,
time to go home now. Um,
right.
so I assume you guys have your own room. You're not sharing the room with your guests or anything.
Thank
Um,
goodness.
is there?
It's nice.
Do you guys have like your own like living room, or is that
Yeah,
all shared as well? Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
you're actually in it right now.
Yeah, this is our
Oh,
living room.
nice.
Yeah. So there are 2 houses on our property.
Hmm.
The first house was built in 1878, and the people who bought the house to turn it into a bed and breakfast, because we bought the property and the bed and breakfast has been existing for over 30 years. They added in a little bit. They added in their own like innkeeper's quarters, a little side room to the main house, and then in 2004, uh, they built the carriage house, and that's where we live. And so we have an apartment underneath, like
On
we
the
have,
first floor.
yeah, on the first floor
And we
and
have
on the
4
second
rooms
floor.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Cool. So are there rentals going on in both places then?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay. So that's
So
cool though.
we're
You do
9
have your own spot.
bedrooms. Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of on the
Wow,
bigger side of bed and breakfasts.
Yeah.
man,
But
that's cool.
mhm.
Yeah, that is such like just a different world. It's cool because I feel like you guys kind of how did that actually happen? So you started the ministry first, and I want to get into the ministry like a lot, but how did that transition, or did you just see that need of like so you wanted to find this place that you could kind of support it, but then also like where people could go? Like how did that transpire, or what brought you to that decision?
Hmm.
Well, I feel like I can't remember what year it was, but and we can unpack the ministry side, but basically Britt was going to different safe houses across the country and like doing these retreats. And in that time period, we were just kind of dreaming up of what it would look like to have our own space, because we wanted to make it less of like going out, but bringing people to us. And so we were thinking, oh, maybe we'll, you know, go out to Alaska, have some cabins or something, or, Colorado, and go to these like mountain areas and do this. And then when we got connected to this place, that's kind of how we're like, oh, bed and breakfast. So it wasn't necessarily on our radar, but it scratches the itch for everything that we want to do, because we were like, maybe we'll do glamping in northern Michigan and
Yeah.
build some lodges, like a main lodge, and kind of do that, or maybe we can build a series of cabins or whatnot. But then we found this place and we're like, oh, 2 houses, it's perfect for the ministry. Plus, we can keep that sustainable model of income as well.
We've
So,
also had like I mean, as cool as it was to partner with so many safe houses across the country, which we still do in some capacity, it's just a lot less than it used to be. Most of our clients are here in Michigan, and so it felt like if we were to just pack up and move to another state, we'd be losing all of those connections that we spent so long building with these women. And so I think Northern Michigan is like just far enough out of Grand Rapids where we were before, to where it feels like a getaway and it's still, outdoorsy and we can still go for hikes and paddle boards and, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, I think you're right. It did like basically scratch the itch of everything that we had dreamed of. So,
That's cool, and it seems to be working pretty good. Are you guys pretty happy with how it kind of worked together?
yeah,
yeah.
for
Yeah, it's
sure.
been great.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's had its days, but
Yeah.
it's for the most part, I mean, I don't know. It turns out like we're actually not bad at innkeeping.
No. Or we,
They keep coming back.
yeah.
So hopefully that continues.
It seems like things are working for
Seems
us.
like they like us. I
Yeah.
don't
That's
know.
awesome. I was gonna say that's got to feel good too when people like are repeat renters, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
sweet, you guys, weren't like, oh, what did we get into and never see again. So,
Yeah.
um,
I think the wild part too about running a B&B, and maybe this is also something that shocked us, or maybe it didn't shock you, but it shocked me. I I feel like when we moved into this place, I was like, okay, this is going to be used for trafficking survivors. And, that was kind of just like the scope of things. But you don't realize until you're in hospitality on a daily basis that like people don't leave their problems behind on vacation. Wild.
Mm.
They follow them on vacation. And so a lot of times like, it'll be like praying with guests at breakfast or hearing their whole life stories or finding out that some of our guests have experienced trafficking and then they come on a retreat later or being able to like share about trafficking with guests is also kind of a huge gift for us to be able to educate people about what that looks like in Michigan. And I don't know, it's been cool to be able to just kind of sit here with our hands open and be like, all right, Lord, fill these rooms with whoever you want,
Hmm.
whether that's marriages struggling or foster families or trafficking survivors or just the average traveler that we can, bless for a morning. I think the scope of ministry that happens within the walls of our home far exceeds, I think, what we originally set out to do. But it's been cool to watch.
Yeah, I bet that must have been completely surprising to you that that was also going to be part of the ministry, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out hospitality is ministry.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like you
Whoa.
wish someone had written it down or something, or
Yeah.
I don't
Crazy.
know.
Who would
That's
have
crazy. Wow, I never would have thought about that either. I'm sure you guys like, oh yeah, will host and they'll, be young couples on their honeymoons or anniversaries, and they'll be happy and they'll help support ministry. And then it's funny because I'm sure you didn't think about it. I wouldn't either, but I'm sure there's people that are like, this is the last thing, we're going to give our marriage one more try. And if this, B&B doesn't fix us, it's just like people do that. And,
Yeah.
we were just at Disney World, and I'm amazed at the people who will have these crazy fights in the open. Like, I don't know why this is acceptable, but like we're standing in line for a Star Wars ride, and you guys are having a full on marriage crisis argument. But
You're like, it's the best place in the entire world. Why
yeah,
are you mad?
it's the happiest. Come on, guys, eat your ice cream bar, and let's just stand in line.
Go make
Yeah, I
your
guess what's
lightsaber.
yeah. Did you not build your lightsaber? Is that the problem?
They
That
got
was
Sith lightsabers. They're red. That's the problem.
I wanted a blue one. Well, like without giving like too like if obviously if something's too personal, but like have you guys had any crazy stories of just like guests in general or
Yeah.
stuff
How
that you can
long do you
tell?
have?
Yeah.
What's the time? What should we start with?
Cocaine bear?
Yeah, we call this guy Cocaine Bear. It's
I think that's a
um
good story.
yeah.
Already calling it.
Well, it's our first winter ever here, and we got a call from a gentleman saying that he wanted to rent out our whole place. And the reason was because his son lived in our town and he passed away. And his son was maybe like mid 40s, early 50s, something like that. A very tragic death. And this older gentleman said, "Hey, I need a landing pad, and would you mind if we like hosted a meal at your place that night?"
Basically, for everybody who was out of town was going to stay here
Yeah.
because they didn't have
Okay.
enough room at the house.
And so we're like, okay, that sounds great. Like,
So sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Gave him a great discount.
and we're thinking like, no one's here in December, and so we're like, we're making money. He has a place to stay. Sounds great. Well, he shows up, and a lot of his family and the people staying here show up, and they're already drunk, and they basically turn our house into a party, like frat house. They invite like half the town over, and our parking lot only has like
10
maybe
spots.
10 spots, 11 spots, and it's snowy, and so there are like cars literally all through our driveway on the street. It's just nothing but chaos. Kids are running around. We had all these Christmas decorations, and at the time we made these gingerbread houses. Well, these kids literally steal it, they eat it. our daughter made this nice gingerbread house and put it out on display for everyone, and it's like literally just destroyed. And so
We put candy
Uh,
canes on the Christmas tree.
Oh,
All of
those
them were like
within
ground
seconds.
into our rug. We were like, what is happening?
Yeah. And
Wow.
so basically like Friday that happens, we go in to clean the house cuz we're like we don't want our place to be destroyed. And so then we like it's like the same thing on Saturday. They have another huge meal which was not in the deal. And so we're like, okay. Well then a lot of them this man was from Vegas, and a lot of his like the older people that stayed with him were also from like the West Coast and that area, and so they had a flight at like 4 a.m. Well, around like I want to say like 8 a.m.
We go in to clean.
Yeah, we go in to clean, and a good chunk of the people already were gone, but a few people were left, and the people that were left and were like, yeah, the guy that booked out your place, he was a super shady guy, and like he was from Vegas and things were not great, and all these guys were like, yeah, don't trust him or whatever. So then we start cleaning up, and everyone leaves, and so then we go into the older gentleman's room, and I walk into the bathroom.
No, I walked in the
Oh, was it you?
bathroom and
Yeah,
I
you
came
take
and got him because there are little like these plastic vials like all over and this white powder all over our vanity, and it looks like he tried to get rid of some down the shower drain. And then
Okay.
there are like bloody napkins everywhere. There are like Q-tips in our plant planters. He had dumped an entire thing of honey onto our dresser. It was just like sticky.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about. And the room was like 85 degrees.
And oh yeah, I forgot to mention the whole weekend this guy kept saying like how cold he was.
Yeah.
And so like he would go up to the like the thermostat and like crank the heat, into like 90, and I'm like, "Nope, turn that down. Like I'm not paying that,
Anyway, long story short, it turned out to be cocaine and we had to clean it up.
Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah. So now we call him Cocaine Bear, but the guy he was what, like 70s?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So, doing cocaine in your 70s, I guess, is a great way to live your life. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's when you're gonna go for it, I guess it's time.
Yeah.
So people were staying there. I assumed it was like family. Was it just like his friends or something that were?
I
It
think
was
it was like
friends.
friends of his son. And then
Okay.
also his friends who knew his son who also came to the funeral.
Yeah, and I think a
Okay.
couple family members, but
Couple of family members, yeah.
yeah.
And they were all
It was
like,
fun.
"Yeah, that guy is really shady."
Yeah.
Oh man, wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I was assuming I was gonna get like a Karen story or something, and
We did have a
cocaine.
lady joke about like her husband having cancer, just to get a free room out of us.
Yeah, that happened.
That
No,
was
that's just funny
interesting.
though. That's just good,
It
clean
was
fun, right?
hilarious, yeah. And then we like gave her this good discount, and then she came back and she had just been on a shopping trip.
Wow,
We were like, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
interesting.
We've had
She's
people
a
like
Karen.
break into rooms, and like one guy, I think they were on an anniversary trip, and
He didn't show up to breakfast that he
well,
had ordered.
yeah, and I think they like fought in the middle of the night, but he like broke into another room and slept in the bed and then peed in the trash can, and we didn't find out till the next morning when we go into that room that he broke into, because we had a guest coming in later that
Yeah.
day, so we were going to like prep the room, and then all of a sudden Bert's like, why is the bed not
I
made?
just made this yesterday. What is happening?
And then I look over at the trash can, I'm like, there's like liquid in this. I pull up the bag and it's like yellow, and I'm like, seriously? So then you have to go confront the guests, and it's like, did you do that? Oh yeah, I have his excuse was like, I have a terrible drinking problem, and his wife is like literally like beat red, ready to strangle this guy, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
hey, it's all good, but like now we have to clean the room, so we gotta charge you for that, and so it ended up working out, but
And for breaking and entering,
yeah,
Real. You're lucky nobody was in there.
yeah,
just scooch over. I have a drinking problem. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Wow,
Oh, yeah.
man. Alan, any other stories? Any other thrivers that you want to go over?
Well, there was one guy that didn't want to go to the bathroom in front of his wife, and so he broke into her room.
I caught him in our Mackinac room with the door open pooping.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
Yeah, so that was cool.
he has I don't want my wife to see me, but I'm okay if the
This random
innkeeper sees
stranger.
me.
The rest of the guests can see me. It's fine.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was fun.
But
Gosh,
yeah,
that is crazy.
you get the
Um,
best people on vacation and you get the worst of people on
yeah.
vacation. There's no middle ground.
Yeah. There really isn't.
I think it's something I thought about at Disney this year is like I do think there's people out there that's like vacation is I always considered it like kind of like a luxury, like, hey, we've been working hard, we get to,
Yeah.
have this fun time. And I think there are some people that are just so unhappy that vacation is this better be the best experience ever because this is
100%.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
feel that? Have you seen that
Mhm.
kind of stuff? Hmm.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gotta be heavy. Yeah, I guess, jumping back to kind of just like the ministry aspect of it, have you guys seen or what's been something really cool that you've seen kind of come from that where you're able to just pray with people or just kind of some stories that have kind of happened or like post staying or whatever?
Yeah, we had one lady who came to just like kayak, and then when she got here, learned that we were a nonprofit. She had booked on Expedia, and like we had no connection to this lady whatsoever. And then she ended up coming to a retreat in November,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, it's been really cool to, like, hear her more of her story and, like, be able to support her, and she signed up for a mentor in the Grand Rapids area, and so we got somebody we're kind of meeting for coffee with her once a week, and it's been, yeah, just cool to see, how that whole thing happened. She's just, like, kind of this random stranger from Expedia, and
Yeah.
then gets here, and she's like, "Can I talk to Brit?" And then shared her story with me over breakfast, and then she was like, "I think I fit your demographic. Can I have some help?" And we were
Wow.
like, "Absolutely." So yeah, that's been cool. We've provided, sustainable employment for a couple of survivors in that in between of, like, sex industry and what they really wanna do with their lives. Um and so being able to, like, have space in the summertime to hire, some women, um, who just need something a little bit more stable on their resume, has been also a huge gift for us.
Yeah.
We've also worked with law enforcement to provide, like, really, like, short-term help, um, especially out of Travers, and then we've also trained pregnancy resource centers on trafficking up here, which has been awesome. I think in Northern Michigan, it's really in Grand Rapids, it was like everybody's talking about trafficking and, like, this is a big deal, and we have, a task force and, like, all these other things, and Travers, I think, has been trying to, like, do that, but I think because it's such a tourist area, like, it's paradise, and I don't think people really want to admit that any kind of human trafficking might be happening in some place that's as beautiful as Travers or just Northern Michigan in general, and so being able to kinda shed a light on that and be a resource to organizations who maybe don't necessarily know a ton about trafficking, but they are on the front lines of, domestic violence or sexual abuse or unplanned pregnancies or things like that. Yeah, it's been cool to be able to connect with them now that we're up here and kind of shine a light on the issue that, especially here in Bel Air, because nobody's talking about trafficking here in
Yeah.
Bel Air. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, and that's come with, its own challenges too of like the town, not necessarily being super welcoming to us because of us shining a light on things that have been hidden for a very long time and, women finally coming forward being like, this happened to me and I'm right down the road. Can you help? Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I think that's a little bit of a double-edged sword. But we didn't necessarily come to be liked, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, right. I mean, yeah, I do think I commend you guys for being in that ministry because it's not I don't know how to say this, but it's not a glamorous ministry. It's not like an easy, like, nothing wrong with it, but even like with Women's Resource Center, that kind of stuff, like the baby bottles they do to like fill this baby bottle with money and then you're donating it to help, babies. I'm like, that's a nice thing, and it's
It's a
needed.
no-brainer.
But yeah, it's easy, right? It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
no one's like, I hate babies, like
Yeah.
I hate that you're giving them formula,
For real. Well,
Well, I'm
I
sure there's
in
some
Grand
people, but
Rapids, you're right, because I worked at Kids Food Basket in Grand Rapids as a grant writer for a little bit when we lived there, and m money and donations, they flow like running water because you're feeding a kid, and it's so dang tangible. You're like,
yeah.
"Okay, I gave $5 and this kid got a meal," and you're like,
It's a
"Done.
no-brainer.
I did
Yeah.
this."
Mhm.
Trafficking's like, "I helped a girl leave 7 times."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like, I've been working with the same survivor for 4.5 years, and now we're starting to see some progress. Or like, it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. And
And it's not a numbers game,
it's not a numbers game.
because I feel like you've worked with like, maybe 10 girls in 1 year, or like, and I feel like a lot of times when we talk about like helping people, it's the people that are like, oh, we helped 1 million children, and those people get like the attention or whatnot. And then I feel like for us, we're bringing in 60 to 70 women a year through our doors. And, we want to say we would love to have more, but at the same time, it's also great to work with small amounts of women, and then you can give one-on-one attention,
Mhm.
work with them. So.
Totally.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a very different kind of thing. It's not they're hungry, now they're fed, we're moving on. It's got to be a lot more. So, what is your criteria of people you're working with or that are coming to your retreats?
Honestly, it's expanded a little bit since we got here. But mostly it's been in the past sex and labor trafficking. So, um a lot those lines get blurred a lot, especially at, like, massage parlors in Michigan, where typically it starts as labor trafficking and then kind of morphs into sex trafficking, and so typically, like, that's where we have been able to serve is through basically sex trafficking and labor trafficking. We started with strip club outreach, and so going into the sex industry has always been a part of our organization. And so we have 3 outreach teams, one in Grand Rapids, one in Cadillac, and one in Traverse City. And basically that's kind of our first like point of contact with these women, being willing to like actually go into the sex industry and meet them where they're at. And so a lot of times the women who come on our retreats are from outreach, specifically, or we've partnered with a safe house. So, some kind of program in Michigan that works with sex trafficking survivors specifically. We have one safe house partner in Detroit that we were able to bring on since we've been up here, and they're 12 to 16-year-old girls who have been trafficked.
Hmm.
And so that's our first like minor retreat that we ever did here. And so that's been a huge gift to be able to kind of expand our services to younger women also. So yeah. And then I mean also there's so many like with trafficking, you have domestic violence. A lot of times you've got sexual abuse, you've got, unplanned pregnancies. And so there's a lot of overlap with that too. And so, we've tried to, since we got here, also reach out to organizations that are working with domestic violence. A lot of times we find out that trafficking was happening with domestic violence. And so, yeah, if it's a sexual abuse related um, situation, we're kind of right there in the middle of it.
Wow. I mean, yeah, there's so much there. I might need you to define a couple things for me too, but like, so what's a
Right.
safe house?
Yeah, so a safe house is basically where trafficking survivors can go for long-term aftercare. So typically, they can be either live-in situation or it can be like an independent living program where the women live on their own and then they just provide necessary services to get them back on their feet after exploitation. And so you have those, and then you have the more like intensive programs that are like we live on property, and for your safety, we don't know where that's at. And so gives them time to heal away from the abuse and then also kind of just have those necessary resources to get back on their feet. I mean, a lot of times when a trafficking survivor is leaving some situation like that, she has no paperwork to her name. She has no ID. She's got nothing kind of coming with her. And so a lot of times the safe houses will step in and they'll get her a social security card and, a valid driver's license and, kind of set her up with just like really basic things that can help her thrive as she's getting back on her feet. So yeah, they can be pretty intensive, or they can be more of like an independent living situation where it's like, we have all of these programs here, and maybe they provide just emergency housing until you're able to get back on your feet, or they have resources in the community for low income housing, um, things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's real quick too. I do want to say this. I think there's a lot of things that we say we're trying to raise awareness for, and it's kind of like, okay, maybe we should just be funding cancer research as opposed to just telling everyone that there's cancer that exists or something like that. But it's like, man, this does seem to be a thing that not a lot of people know about, and especially for our area. But I mean, you would speak into this, but like, I feel like that's a lot of places, right? There's so many. It's like, oh, I'm sure that happens in Chicago or New York, but
Right.
Yeah.
I think the wild part too is that like it also I mean, a lot of times we're working with like immigration a lot of times too, especially at massage parlors where women are brought from foreign countries and they have no idea what their rights are. And then they get caught up in a labor trafficking ring. And then once that's busted, they still don't know what their rights are. And so you have to kind of like walk that immigration process with them. And then, you're also dealing with not only, again, domestic violence and all the sexual exploitation side of it, but like we also work with child welfare a lot because a lot of sexual abuse happens within the foster care system. Girls who are aging out of the foster care system also high targets for trafficking. That used to be 86% of the girls that we work with in the clubs have had some run-in with child welfare, and so those two are like really connected in our past experience. But yeah, it is interesting when you are trying to like share about this. You're like, well, yeah, I work with trafficking survivors, but also like, I'm also in housing and homelessness, and I'm also in immigration, and I'm also in, child welfare. And so like you have to kind of know all of these different angles when you're working with trafficking. And I think that goes back to it being a marathon and not a sprint, because you can't just get your life back in order in 10 seconds after,
Yeah.
a lifetime of sexual trauma. It takes years to recoup from something like that. And the crazy part is that it doesn't just happen to anybody. And so a lot of these women will leave the sex industry or some kind of trafficking situation. And I mean, it's not like they'll meet somebody on the street who's like, I was also trafficked, And so I think one of the most important aspects of what we do with these retreats too has been community. For the first time, some of these women are in a room with 8 to 15 other women who have exactly the same life experiences as they do. And they no longer feel like an anomaly. They just kind of feel like they belong somewhere, and they have a community of women that can come alongside them who know what they're going through in that season. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you say, like, someone says, I was trafficked, what does trafficking mean in that sense?
Yeah, so basically, I like to call it like preying on vulnerability. I feel like that is kind of the bread and butter of trafficking, being forced or coerced to do something that you don't want to do. And in our case, that happens to be mostly sex trafficking. I think also it's really hard to talk to Christians about this issue sometimes because we all look at strip clubs and we go, that's dirty. You go where? And I think it's a difficult conversation to have when you're talking about a strip club, and then women that I've talked to in churches are typically like, okay, but isn't that just their choice? And 94% of our clients have had some form of sexual abuse before they ever even enter a strip club. It's not like, they're just waking up one morning and deciding, I'm gonna be a dancer and I'm gonna go apply at this strip club. A lot of times, I mean, we found girls as young as 16 in Grand Rapids strip clubs.
Mm.
Grandparents would even, bring them to the clubs and sit in the parking lot
Wow.
to make sure they didn't leave. And I think the big
Gosh.
misconception with trafficking too is that you know, 3% of trafficking is kidnapping. I think everybody just thinks it's this Taken, like Liam Neeson situation, and
Or like Sound of Freedom,
yeah, oh yeah,
where like kids are
exactly,
kidnapped and
yeah,
then thrown in a shipping container.
right,
Yeah.
and that's just not true. Like 39% of trafficking is from a domestic, like relationship, a partnership, and so a lot of this is like your boyfriend or your spouse is trafficking you. 42% of trafficking is a family member. And so, like, I feel like it's just important to recognize, like, this this happens a lot and more frequently than not because of other things. Like, if a family can't pay for we had a woman in, Traverse City, actually, who was at the clubs, young girl, her grandma was addicted to prescription meds and needed to pay for that addiction, and then started
Mm.
trafficking her granddaughter who lived with her. And so, like, they're real there are real things at work that just take that choice away from so many women. And I mean, it's no wonder that you end up like I think the mentality really does become like something so sacred has been taken for free my entire life. I might as well be in control, at least if this is what I'm worth. And so I feel like that is what we're constantly up against in the strip clubs is like, well, I was sexually abused at 5. And now
Mm.
here I am as a 21-year-old, and at least I'm in control and I'm getting paid good money. And so sometimes it's a really, huge challenge to convince some of these women that like there is something on the other side of exploitation. And obviously we're not there to get every stripper out of every strip club. Like some will never leave and that's okay. Like that's on them. But for the ones that do feel extremely unsafe, we had one club in Grand Rapids that was super abusive. Every time we went in, we heard stories of sexual violence like we had never heard. Um, and these girls, were looking for a way out, but this is their entire community. The women in the clubs, their family.
Mm.
And so when you think about leaving something like that, and that's all you have, it just makes it really difficult.
Man, yeah, you hear that in just like homes of abuse as well. That's like it's almost like you don't leave the family once you're there. It's like we have this shared, history.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's things like I never thought about with like strip clubs and things like that. What I mean, like I won't hold you to this, but what do you guys think? What's the percentage of people who want to be there? That was a this is my passion. I want to do that.
1%.
1%.
I think in the so I was doing strip club outreach in Grand Rapids for what, 8 years?
I think
Probably
so.
8 or 9
Yeah,
years.
somewhere around there.
Total, I mean, between all 3 teams, we're at year 12 of this, and so, gosh, I can only count maybe on 3 fingers the amount of women that I've met who were like, "No, this is for me." Um, and I mean, we've
Don't
probably met over 300 women,
Hmm.
um, over the last decade. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I really like probably 1%. Actually, that would literally be 1% if we met like 300
300
women. And I can think of 3 off the top of my head that were like, I don't need you, bye. And
That yeah, I mean, that's exactly you're right, that's exactly 100%. Um,
I bet it wasn't exactly 300 women that we met,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
sure.
it's close.
Yeah, and that's so backwards too, and obviously, like, all of us are believers, but even taking a morality aside, the fact that it is so pushed in our culture, like, especially, like, I don't know, internet culture, movie culture, that it's like, this
Yeah,
is things that's empowering people, right?
right.
Like, you wanna do that, go for it, and it's almost like we could agree. It's like even if you don't agree morality, with like, "Oh, those aren't my morals to be a part of something like that," but the fact that it's so low of that's what people actually want
Mhm.
is crazy. And yeah, you would say, well, if you were abused and you feel like this is all you can do, or even just self-worth, if this is all you
Mhm.
feel like you're of value.
Right.
Um, man, I mean, I just, they feel like there's been a lot of talk recently just of even just like the porn industry about how much that is like this as well. But I never even thought about it with local strip clubs and stuff like that, of how many that is. Um, it's sad. It's so heartbreaking, and just especially when you hear the young. Like, I mean, that is that's terrible. I can't imagine. Yeah, grandfathers taking their granddaughters and or maybe
Yeah.
grandmothers, but you know what I mean? Man, that is just
Yeah.
wow. That's heavy.
Mhm.
And yeah, I feel like I also really wanted to do this interview because I think it's something that people need to know about. And
Wow.
it seems like you do have a lot of pushback from the church, like you were saying. Is that what do you think it is? Is it people don't want to talk about it? Like what is that? Or what's that pushback look like?
To be honest, like I uh, I don't want to be too like accusatory here at all
Hey,
because
let it out.
I
You
love
can do it.
I love the church.
Yeah.
Um been a part of the church my whole life. Um but our ability to completely disregard sexual abuse and hide it is so astronomically wrong. And yet, we continue to put people in power who don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
And I think when you have like I mean, this is a good example. So we had this girl in our like Cadillac community who came in and said that her pastor uh sexually abuses her, but then when she goes to church, he goes, "We don't talk here." And I mean, like, that's Northern Michigan. That's not just like a, far off mega church Southern Baptist convention problem. Like, this is
Hmm.
small town America. Like, there are, I mean, every time I speak at a church, it's like, okay, well, can you not say the word strip club? Can you not say,
Wow.
can you limit the amount of times that you mention sex? It's like,
Hmm.
why? Are you scared of it? Like, you have something you want to hide here that I might bring to light and that scares you? Like, I don't know. I mean, the amount of spiritual and sexual abuse that is so intertwined. We saw this time and time again in West Michigan too. I mean, it's Bible Belt of America. Um, and we had one girl one night, she came up to our table and she goes, "Well, my adoptive dad was a pastor and started sexually abusing me when I was 2 years old. So what do you got to say about that?" And she's like, "Hang on, I got to go dance. You can think about your answer and I'll be right back." And then
Oh.
we're like, "Cool. Can't wait to deconstruct this
Yeah,
for
let's
5
unpack that
minutes
together.
when
Yeah.
Jay-Z's done." Um, it's just like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's so sad because like we still look at the prostitute as like the worst of the worst sinner.
Hmm.
And it's just wild to me that I mean, a lot of these girls don't feel comfortable going to church because where are they gonna get judged the most? Church.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because the one place that should be loving and accepting and being like, "How can we come around you in this season?" is the one place that just feels completely out of reach. Um, I will say one of the things that we focus really heavily on our retreats, it used to be like your identity in Christ and why that matters. And so these girls would look at us and they'd be like, "Be for real?" And so that lasted a whole like 2 retreats before we changed our entire curriculum.
Yeah.
Um, and now we focus on lament. We talk about like how does a good God let horrible things happen? Like how do I wrestle with these questions well? Lament what's happened to me, grieve that as it needs to be grieved, and then move forward in freedom in Christ, basically. Um, and I feel like approaching it from a prayer standpoint has been so huge for a lot of the women that we work with, just because it feels like the back door to faith almost. Like we're not
Yeah.
gonna come in and just be like, "Hey, this is what we do," and as Christians, and now we expect you to be a Christian too. And I'm counting conversion numbers over here.
Hmm.
That's not us. And I don't know, call us progressive, but I just feel like um there comes to a point where like with survivors who are exiting the sex industry, like they have to be cared for in a way that wants makes them want Jesus. um and a lot of times I feel like it's more like this from the church of like, you know, she comes to church dressed a little bit more scantily than maybe your typical, churchgoer. And then the women's, ministry pastor will call me and be like, well, you brought so and so to church, but can you make sure she puts some clothes on next time? And you're like, can we not just accept her the way that she is? Like,
Yeah.
just in this moment of not even maybe having another outfit, like, you have to
Mhm.
understand where she's coming from. She doesn't know any better. And instead of being willing to teach, and welcome, um, I think it's just easier to have pushback and pretend like we all have it all together. And I'm not sure where we got that from scripture. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was a long-winded answer, but I don't know. It's been a massive struggle with churches, like, really micromanaging what we have to say, and then also pushing sexual abuse aside, like it doesn't matter or it doesn't happen. Um, but it does.
And not, I'll just add a little thing to this because I've
Please.
seen it because Brit does most of the ministry. I'm just like, help. I'm helping a lot with the inn, or when we do retreats, I do a lot to like help serve the women and not really do much of the teaching or whatever. But I see like the responses from churches or from the community, and I feel like a lot of it's like the numbers game. Like it feels like churches love when things are like multitudes, and they don't necessarily like it when it's just like one. And I just I don't know. I love to read the Bible. I used to be a pastor. I love studying the text, and I think of the parable of like leaving the 99 for the one. And I feel like we've lost that art of like, even if it was just for one person, this would be great.
Yeah.
And I feel like we kind of look at ministry like it's like a business where if we don't see the numbers or if things don't add up from like a business perspective, it's just like, let's not even talk about it. Let's throw that out the window. This is uncomfortable. And I'm looking at the words of Jesus going, well, leaving the 91, maybe we give up our resources. Maybe we make ourselves uncomfortable
Yeah.
to help out just the one girl
I
in
mean,
our community.
we've lost funding because they didn't think we were serving, like, enough women, or they think that, like, I don't know. There have been plenty of churches who are like, "No, we're not gonna support you because there's no tangible fruit for us."
Mm.
Um, One of our old missions pastors once told me that it was too messy and that our church would never support it. And that is the church that, we were a part of as congregation members. And so, like, I don't know, there's definitely a disconnect between sexual abuse and what we're portraying as the church in this season. And it's not attractive to trafficking survivors trying to leave the industry and get back on their feet in all they know how, you know?
Hmm. And that's terrible. I hate that, and I think it's so tough that hearing that that's happened to you guys, and also, I mean, it's what we talked about before, right? It's messy. It's not a filling, which I don't want to keep. I'm not trying to rag on the baby bottle thing because that's great ministry too. I really like babies. Okay, let's just put that on the
Right.
record. um, I will steal candy from a baby.
You
um,
would.
We
I
won't tell
would.
anybody.
It's like, nope,
Yeah.
those are mine now.
I might join
Um,
you. So we're in good
yeah,
company.
good. We're in bad company. Hey.
Bad company. Ah.
um, but yeah, it's messy. People don't like to deal with messy. I mean, it's kind of like I almost equate it to. I mean, you deal with this as well, but like homelessness.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
like, how do churches react to homelessness? And it's like, oh, maybe we give them food once on a Thursday, or like, and these are good things to do, but it's like,
Yeah.
solve homelessness. It's like, well, that's some people. That's a full time job just for one person, and
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, it sucks, and I'm sorry to hear you guys have so much pushback from churches, and I mean, I think it's a lot of the American church, right? It's become a social club that loves to just be comfortable and,
Mm.
let's hang out, and I don't know, Northern Michigan, let's have our little Sunday service and go from there.
Check
But
that box.
yeah,
Yep.
and it's so funny too, because I see, especially, I find it so interesting with just the weather out in northern Michigan right now, it's hard to get anywhere. And how many people, like older people especially, will just like bend over backwards to make sure they get to church because that's the holy thing, right? Like I got to church. It was a blizzard and I'm 80 and I can't see, but I made it to church. I'm
But
like,
I'm here.
I'm here.
yeah. It's like maybe watch online today, you know.
That's why we have it.
Yeah. Man, so like how do you guys deal with like with burnout? I mean, this seems like just the inn. You could answer that question, but just like how do you do this ministry and the inn, and you know, you have a family and keep your marriage together, like all of it. Like how do you guys keep grounded?
A lot of prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I
man.
mean,
We have definitely gone through seasons of burnout. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like it even when we got here, I felt a little bit like our our previous community like was great, like sending us out and then dropped us like a hot potato as soon as we got here. And then we were like suddenly all alone in this random northern Michigan town and
Yeah.
had no friends, no community. And then we kind of like lost everything that was behind us too. And I feel like we went through the first year here was like, it was a struggle.
It was,
It was a struggle. I mean, trying to stay afloat for the girls while also kind of losing like financial backing and prayer support.
And trying to run the business because we bought this business, but
with some inflated numbers.
And then some things just weren't necessarily adding up. And then, you know, whenever you buy a business, and I think this is pretty universal, you like lose customers or clients.
Totally.
And so we lost some. And so we were basically rebuilding this thing and then trying to keep the ministry alive and then trying to keep our relationship alive. And we have a daughter. So then we were trying to be good parents. And it's just, it was a fun time and a struggle all the same. But I feel like now we try to take like Sabbaths.
Yeah.
When we can. We try to get as much rest, you know, maybe not like a full day every week, but we try to have some kind of time where we can spend together as a family and take time for ourselves. And, so I think that helps.
Yeah. Well, so like, what are things that people can do? I want to get into like, I guess, actions, but what can people like look out for in regards to just like trafficking, or how can they see like they're like, how can people, if they're in the situation themselves, get help? And also how can people look for signs of like, this might be a situation to call somebody?
Yeah. So I feel like there's like the obvious kind of ones when you're traveling at airports. If you notice that like young women with older men, actually in any situation, younger women with older men isn't always great. It's not always a dad or a grandpa. But if she like doesn't have access to any of her own identification and, you know, you're in an airport and you're like, that feels weird. I feel like that's kind of common actually in traveling, because trafficking is usually pretty transient. I feel like on a regular basis, I really would encourage people to get involved with foster care. Even if it's like independent living, to set like teen girls up for success as they're exiting foster care and starting like what life looks like, especially if they're aging out with no parent. And it's just been like a group home situation or something like that. There are a lot of, huh?
Oh, I was just going to say, or do you finish and then I'll.
No. I was going to move on. So,
Oh, okay. I was going to say too, with foster care, you can do respite weekends.
yeah.
So if you don't feel like you want to do like a full placement or whatnot, but you just want to be a support to another foster family, respite is where you can just take kids for like a weekend or a week or a couple days.
Just to give the parents a little break.
Yeah. So
can I do that with my own kids? Like I can give them to somebody else for a weekend? Is that
grandparents, dude?
Oh, that's right. That's what they're for.
You can send your kids to us. We'll party with it.
Over.
All right. I
Oh,
mean, they're gonna eat everything and break everything, but yeah, you can have for
perfect.
it.
Sounds great.
Nope, just one. Just one is gonna break everything, but he's chill. He's chill. Um, well, yeah, and I guess what do you say if like someone's listening to this that's like, I think I'm in a situation akin to that? Like, what's
Yeah. Honestly, I would have them reach out to us and we're happy to like, you know, kind of connect resources that they might need. A lot of people mention like calling the National Human Trafficking Hotline, but they are okay, they're not the most useless organization, but they're up there with
mm,
uselessness. Um, unless you're a minor, so you have to have at least 2 people call to, have let anything happen, and then they consistently will tell you that if they're over the age of 18 that they can't help you, and I'm not entirely sure why.
mm,
They also just like their database for resources is so poor. Last time I called, I needed counseling in Northern Michigan for a survivor, and I was like, "Maybe they'll know somebody that can help me." It was in the very beginning stages of us being here, and this dude gave me some random counselor in Detroit,
hmm.
and I was like, "Do you know how far I am from Detroit?" Like, if you don't know the resources, that's fine. You don't have to pretend like you do, but this is not helpful.
I think it's because they're like national, and
They
so
are, and they can't
they're
know
not
every
thinking.
area, but also, like,
Yeah.
I feel like they just don't do enough research to even know how far things are from you, and then they just give you these, like, random resources and nobody ever checks in on you. And so like, I don't know. I don't like the National Human Trafficking Hotline. I do if it's a minor. If you are under the age of 18 and you're experiencing some kind of sexual abuse, you can call them and law enforcement will get involved at that point.
Okay.
And then they can connect you with like Bethany Christian Services or, other like foster care programs that might have also not necessarily that every, you know, minor will end up in foster care because sometimes they just need to be returned home in trafficking situations. Or if it is a family situation, then Child Protective Services can get involved or DHS can get involved. And typically that's really helpful. But yeah, there are a lot of like safe house options too if you're looking for like a long-term program to walk you through that process of healing. But yeah, again, like we have all those resources too. So we'd be happy to share those with anybody who might be experiencing some kind of trafficking or sexual abuse and you need a little bit of help, even if you're not a minor. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. And we
Well,
can all attach links and everything like that to the page, but like, what's the best way to you guys? If someone's like, I think I just want to talk and kind of connect, what's like the best avenue, do you think?
honestly, an email first would be awesome, just kind of
Okay.
explaining kind of what is going on and how we can be of assistance. Info at Freedom Adventures is our intake email.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Um, yeah. Thank you guys so much for just doing this. It's been so like eye opening and it's such a hard topic, but I really feel like it's something that we need to talk more about. And it's a bummer. It seems to not happen in the church, more than a bummer, but it's just kind of like, got to call it a bummer because you can't get too hopeless about it and you got to keep, going on.
for
So,
real.
um,
And yeah, not everybody in church is a trafficker.
right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I was going to say for the non-believers and the atheists out there, we're not saying every pastor is an abuser.
No.
Um, but yeah, so I think, I mean, we've got over a lot of the stuff I want to talk about. Is there anything else that you guys want people to know or anything about the ministry or anything we missed?
No,
I,
I don't think so.
yeah, I don't think so.
Thank you for
Cool.
giving us a platform to share about this,
Oh,
Heath.
of
That's huge.
course.
I
Thank you
Yeah.
so
appreciate
much.
it.
Yeah. Thanks for being on. And yeah, what can they follow? We got your email, but like, what's the best way to kind of support you guys or check more stuff out?
Yeah, so freedomsummitadventures.org is our nonprofit name. And so that's our website. You're welcome to check that out. That's where like our donate link is for the nonprofit too, if you are interested in giving towards supporting a survivor to join us on a retreat. Or if you want to come stay with us at our cozy little B&B,
It's always a great way.
we're called the Park Street Inn in Bel Air, Michigan. And so we would love to have you and make you breakfast.
Yeah.
And yeah, our website is, I'm sure you'll link it, but
Yeah.
theparkstreetin.com. So
Awesome. So cool. And a quick little shout out to Joel, because the music that's playing right now was
Let's
written by
go.
you.
Hey.
So fun.
Yep.
Yeah. So you wrote the music. This was, I think, your first album, right? That you wrote with Willow Brood, the Champion
Yep.
Hill. And
Oh, yeah.
I reached out to you and I was like, can I use that for an intro for a podcast? And you said, let's go. So, yeah, it means a lot, dude. I love the song. I was just like, I heard it and I just pictured like, this is a podcast intro and I'm going to go off. So, yeah, it was
I
awesome.
love it, dude.
So thank you guys
Well, thanks for using it.
so much. Yeah. Of course. I'm happy to do so. Thank you guys so much for being on. I want to link all that stuff. Appreciate what you do. Thank you so much for doing it. And it's just, you pick something it's cool to see people that pick something that they're passionate about. And like I said, it's just not an easy thing to do. And that's awesome. So I commend you guys. So, thank you so much for being on and take care.